Welcome back to the ATS Bootcamp. Today's topic, we are going to be going through direct fire. Direct fire is when a unit has line of sight and can see spotting, which we'll do spotting later on, the target unit. So I've set up a few things. So there are two types of onboard attacks. There are small arms using the casualty table, or guns using the hit probability table. The hit probability table we'll get into later, but it's also known as HPT, and the casualty table is CT. We'll be focusing on small arms direct fire in this video. Small arms include gunfire factors printed on personnel, light machine guns, medium machine guns, or light anti-tank rifles. To keep it simple, we're just going to use the gunfire factors on the personnel counters. We'll get into details on small arms in another video. So in another video, I'll go through the different small arms, the light machines, the LMGs, the MMGs, and what to do with them when they're stacked with units. So let's go ahead. So for small arms, there's a routine that you follow every single time with this. First, you need to determine the range of the fire to make sure you're within range. So let's take a look at the scenario I have kind of set up here. So we actually have two squads here. We have two 859s, Americans, and then we have Germans. We have a 785 on the Germans. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, and going back to the anatomy of a personnel, 5 is the range. So he is within range. So first step, done. Second, we're going to total to determine gunfire factors. Well, in this case, we have two 8s, so we're going to total it together. So it is 8 and 8, so 16. We're going to talk about the leader in a little bit. So 16 is the total gunfire factors. Now we're going to look at the cover states, the covered state effects table, which is F1. In this case, this German unit here is in clear terrain, So he's in clear terrain, so we don't have any modifiers. Now I will be doing a few scenarios here where they are in certain terrain, so you can get that idea. So we would compare now, once we got to determine the gunfire factors on the on the final column. So in this case, we have 16 gunfire factors. Well, we don't have a 16 column on the charts. So you'll actually round down. You won't round up. So there is a 14 and a 20. So in this case, this will be a 14. This is a pretty good shot. For firing on the 14, you have an 80% chance to hit without any modifiers on it. So a 1 to 8 actually will hit on a 14. So let's go ahead and roll the die and see what happens. So we got a 1, which by far is the best you can get. And I will never roll this again. So in this case, we would compare to 14. It's a C5, so casualty and 5 hits. So as we talked earlier, the German unit, or a full squad, has 4 steps. So in this case, this would eliminate this squad completely. Now, I can't believe I rolled a 1 on that one. But let's go ahead and say we rolled, let's see here. We rolled a 7, okay? Which is, so we roll a 7, which is a C1. So what you would do is you would get a casualty marker to put on, showing that it has taken a casualty. So generally they're on the back of the movement markers. So this is a casualty, so this is a -1. So when you take a casualty, it subtracts 1 of everything except for the range. So it subtracts 1 from the gunfire factor and 1 from the round. Also, when you take a shot and you take a casualty, you have to do a morale check. The basis of it is you'll roll against the morale here. We'll do a video on it because there's modifiers that are there. So with that. So that's the basics of direct fire. Let's go ahead and we're going to throw the leader in there and see what happens if the leader does a direct fire. Before we do that, once they have fired, you will put the fired marker on there to know that they have fired. So you don't activate them again for anything else on that. So. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the leader. So, we're going to go ahead and put Captain Reed on. And what he does, so we're going to start from scratch again. So, we already know it's 16. We can't use Captain Reed's gunfire factor because his range is only 1. But he is an officer, so he has a die roll modifier. So since he's an officer, 118, he will add, or in this case, subtract 2 from the die roll. So everything stays the same. We're rolling on the 14. Whatever we roll, so in this case, let's say we rolled a 7, which I just did, it would be a -2 and would drop it to a 5. So, and a 5 on the 14 is C2. What would happen is the German unit would go to its reduced side, so we have a reduced squad, and he would have to do a morale check as well. And again, we'll go through the morale checks with that because there are modifiers that you need to do. So having a leader direct the fire can really help. An NCO, so 117, will give you a -1. An officer, a 118, will give you a -2. I have changed the scenario slightly. Oh, let's get him back to being full. So now this German unit saw these guys come in from across and decided to move into, and had moved into the stone building. Get into there. Again, let's go ahead and take a look. So we know we're within range. Now, looking at the cover state, we have masonry. So we get a +3 to the die roll. Plus are not good. Now we do have the leader here, so he has a -1. So it will be, or excuse me, a -2. So it'll be a net +1. Again, still on the 14. So we roll, and in this case we rolled a 9. +1 is a 10, so that's nothing. Now, if we would have rolled, like, let's say a 3, we would use the net +1. That would make it a 4. A 4 would be a C3. So what you do with like a C3 is you will reduce the squad, and you will add one of the casualty markers to it. And then also, don't forget to add that you have fired with that. Pretty easy, pretty simple. You just got to make sure you get all the modifiers there and take a look at different things. We will get into spotting later on, but this is the basics of direct fire. I wanted to go over one further thing, and that is the collateral fire markers that you have. So when you fire in and you hit, and it's over 4 gunfire factors, you need to put a collateral fire in there. So let's take this example right here, just so I got it. So he fired, he hit him, got a C1. So we're looking at, so this is an 8 with a +2 modifier, -3. So it would be a net -1. So this is an 8, so it's on the 8 column. So you would do a column modifier because of the net +1. So for collateral fire, it goes down. So you have it. So it's a 3. So it starts out as an 8. The -1, the net -1 or +1 modifier would make it go down to a 6, and then you have that to 3. Of course, there's no 3, and so you would have a 2. You would have a 2 collateral hit. So you'd put a 2 in here for collateral fire. So that's collateral fire. So remember, you take the gunfire factors of the column that you fired on. You either add or subtract depending on the modifier. So if you have a negative modifier, so if it helps you fire, you're going to go to the right. If you have a positive modifier, so it adds more to the die roll, you will go to the left. And you go that many times. So in this case, we started out on the 8 column. We had a +1 modifier. So you would go 1 to the left, which is a 6 column. You would put that in half, which is a 3, and then you round down, so that would give you a 2 collateral fire. If another unit were to decide to enter into that hex after the collateral modifier, so if we have this 758, he decides to go in here, he will have to fire on the roll on the 2 column to see if there's any damage. So that is collateral fire. If you have any questions, let me know.